Okay, how to create a successful forgery. Well, you saw a little bit from the videos how to do it, and you saw how some of the experts work. Right? And part of it is to figure out what your target audience is. Right? Are you trying to create a document that someone will buy, such as those fake Dead Sea Scrolls, where the Green family is creating a Bible museum, and they have a lot of money. They would be perfect for this kind of thing. Let's make something that they would want. Take some old leather from some sandals, write on it with some Hebrew, and sell them off as Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Like you saw from that article. Those were proved to be forgeries. Or if let's say that there's a museum that specializes in classical antiquities, right? Well, then you can create something, maybe basing it off some real artifacts or something that is unique. So if people want something, then they're less likely to be skeptical of it in general. It depends on the person, obviously. But if someone wants something to be true and wants something to be authentic, that sort of helps you in figuring out what you can make. Don't be too open and don't have a lot of braggadocio or brag about your find too much, because that will lead to suspicion. So maybe let other people take credit. Funnel the find through other channels. Right? Learn from your mistakes. So you saw that some people, they would make these finds, but not even make them in the style of the culture that they were trying to imitate. Obviously, I'm saying this stuff not so you go out and make some forgeries, but so that you understand how to recognize forgeries. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Some of you guys may have heard of James MELLART. Many of you probably have heard of HOYUK. HOYUK is one of the most important sites in the Middle East, one of the most important sites in Near Eastern archaeology. James MELLART was the one who worked there in the 60s. This was a site in sort of southern central Turkey that dated to the Neolithic, that had all of these incredible wall paintings and plastered bull's horns and all sorts of, and female figurines, right? So you can see female figurines and some plastered bull horns. It told archaeologists a lot about life at that time. It was a very large site, and a lot of these paintings are just pretty incredible. So it was a very important site, and he worked there for a number of years. I have one article about James MELLART that you could read. After working there for a number of years, though, he started to publish drawings of paintings without the photos to accompany them. Right? That is, they looked to be in the style of what had already been published, but he didn't have photos of these, and people got kind of suspicious because they were sort of in the style, but they seem to be somewhat exaggerated and not exactly the same as some of the others, right? There's a little bit too much, in some ways, detail here. It's supposed to be probably a mother goddess with these two-seated lions. It's almost like he took this and decided to paint it. So these are probably forgeries. Now, why would he do something like this? No one really has a good answer for this, but it seems like that once he excavated a culture and felt he knew enough about that culture, he almost felt like he knew what else he would find anyway, so he decided to just create it. Very, very strange. He also, after this point, published a find of this a fabulous treasure from about the 3rd millennium BC. It was a very strange story. He said that he was in Istanbul in Turkey. An Armenian woman came up to him and said that there was this incredible treasure that had been discovered. She had it in her apartment. It was an illegal dig. Would he want to come and see it? He went to this woman's apartment. He took notes. He took drawings. And he published these drawings. And then the Turkish officials wanted to know what happened to the treasure. And he said that the woman disappeared. He had no contact information for her anymore. He couldn't find her. Right? It was all very coincidental, and it kind of helped him sort of avoid any kind of further questions. But a lot of people were very skeptical about what was going on. It seemed too good to be true. He had no photos. They didn't know where the treasure was. The Turkish authorities basically said, you come up with the treasure, or either admit it's a fake, come up with the treasure, or we're going to ban you from coming back to Turkey. And that's exactly what happened. He was no longer allowed to excavate in Turkey at the end of this affair. Right? But he thought, the importance of this find was that this was potentially a culture that dated to before the Trojan War and then later into the Trojan War, that would give us more detail about ancient Anatolia during this time period, which they didn't know as much about back then. So here are some of the pictures published from the London Illustrated News of the supposed treasure that he found. Right? This is probably all a product of his imagination, based on things that actually had been found in other cultures, and then him sort of creating it. One thing, or kind of a clue that leads people to think that this was fake, was a letter that he received, that he said he received from the owner of the treasure, saying that he was allowed to publish it. When they examined the letter carefully, they noticed that there was a very strange item in the letter, right? That is, instead of using a 1, wherever there was a 1, a capital I was used. And that's something that they found on MELLART's letters as well, this kind of eccentricity, right? It seemed particular to him. So based on that, it's most likely that he forged this letter from the supposed owner to him. Very, very strange. Then there was also another document that he probably forged, although it could be authentic. Many people don't know. It's called the BEYKÖY text. It's supposed to date to the end of the Late Bronze Age, and it's a description by a king of the events that were going on at the end of the Late Bronze Age, when there was this major calamity throughout the Mediterranean and the Middle East, around the time period of the Trojan War. And it's written in Luwian, or ancient Hittite. And some people think that there are characters and words there that he could not have known, and this shows that it's authentic. And other people think that no, it's not authentic. There are no photographs of it, only these drawings that he made supposedly after seeing this text. He was had a once promising career. He was had an important find at HOYUK, and then his career kind of took this very, very strange path. Right? The next thing I'm going to post is sort of a little bit of just a couple more details about the Cardiff giant and the crystal skulls, and then also these interesting artifacts called the Ika stones. But I will leave it here for now, and we'll talk to you soon.